don't know what you mean, like roles of Rebbes. You know, the role of the Rebbe today seems to be like very different. But it's interesting that I was talking to some guy from Williamsburg. He told me that I think from Visionitz, maybe there's like 14 Rebbes now. And it's really because I guess when you have so many people, it's much harder to have the personal connection. I think that a Rebbe is supposed to have like a personal connection with people. And sometimes when it gets too big, I guess, it's like very hard. It's very interesting for me that, Rav Moshe Weinberger during the coronavirus, like with a lot of his Zoom meetings, I mean, forever, he's always talking about us and the Chevra, and like one thing that sticks out, I remember early on hearing a shir from him where he was like, I'm not a Rebbe, you're not Hasidim, and we're not like in the traditional way. However, he's more of a Rebbe than any Rebbe that I can know. So it's just that maybe the role, if that's what you mean, the role of a Rebbe might be that it just has kind of changed a little bit. Brings to mind that story about the Rebbe who chased after the guy. The guy came for, I don't remember which Rebbe it was. Guy came for a bracha for his son, right? His son was very sick. And he said, Rebbe, please, you got to help me. And he said, I'm so sorry. There's nothing, like, mamash, the gates are closed. So the guy, this poor guy, sets off heading home, mamash dejected, and he's in this thing cruising along. All of a sudden he hears the horses coming. Wait. And the Rebbe comes and he says, I'm so sorry. He said, I can't do anything to help you, but I can certainly cry with you. And when they sat down and cried, at some point he just like jumped up and he was like, he said, okay, he left. The Rebbe left, I think. The guy comes home and he's like, and his wife is like, what happened? I can't believe it's mamash a miracle. The Rebbe, whatever. And he's like, what are you talking about? The Rebbe told me he can't do anything. And as it turns out, that just the fact that they were connecting on a deep place like that,
Yeah,
so
it's true.
Yeah, also brings to mind the story of, they say over a story that it could be that it was with the Ropshitzer, that they were traveling. I don't know who he was with some other Chassidim, and they were traveling along and they had no money to get to the Rebbe, whoever they were going with. I heard this from the Ropshitzer. I was trying to figure out like at what point it was that he didn't have the funds to travel to a Rebbe and who he might have been traveling with, but you never know. So as they were traveling along, this was before he became known as anything, and they come to a town, they realize like, look, we don't have any money. We need some travel money. So they decide that, look, you're going to pretend to be a Rebbe. We're going to go into the town. A few of the Hasidim go ahead and they tell them, okay, here come the Rebbe's coming. You never heard of the Beit Shemesh Rebbe? I'm like, what do you mean? He's on his way. Oh, Gavalt, you got to prepare something for him, whatever. And he comes inside, and this guy's pretending to be a Rebbe. They come, the richest guy in the town takes them in, and they have a big feast. And then he tells them, listen, my son is very sick. My young child is very sick. Please, Rebbe, I need the bracha. So he says, he thinks for a minute. He says, take me and let me stay there. He goes inside. A couple of minutes later, he comes out. He says, okay, they move on. They're on their way. They go to the Rebbe. On the way back, they're doing the same shtick. And they go to the same town. And the rich guy comes out to greet him. He's like, Gewalt, Rebbe, thank you so much. And he throws this big Suda, and all the other Hasidim are looking. They're like, what is going on? And so they ask him, after this whole thing goes by, this guy, he mamash healed this wealthy guy's son. They travel on and they say, dude, what happened? He's like, I went into that room and I just said to Hashem, you know that I'm nothing. And all they want to do is just connect to you. So for the sake of them and their connection to you, take care of this child. It's not my fault. I'm only doing whatever it is that I have to do to get by. Gewalt, sometimes you have to take that role. Sometimes every one of us has to take that role. in our different things. So, Yehuda, you're going to road trip with Elio and Avi, and your mama's going to be Elio and Avi. Like, that's your road trip. You never know when you're going to be the Elio.
It's one of the best. That's one of the best Baal Shem Tov Elio and Avi stories.
It is a good one. Dude, I was once tzaddik. I mean, a rebel or whatever. Like, I didn't do, it happened. Sometimes it just happens. You don't realize. I didn't actually do anything. I mean, let me just tell you straight up. I didn't actually do anything in the story, but someone else treated, I'll tell you the story quickly. I was by the Baal Shem Tov in Mezhebej, and I was sitting there, I was sitting in the OL. I was sitting next to the Apterov, and there was another fellow there, a chassid from seems like a bar park type guy, like an American chassid. He was there with his son, and he was by the Baal Shem Tov. He was davening, it, tefillin on, I don't know. And I was chilling. It was really peaceful and quiet. I was in my corner by the Apterov. I think he's our Zaidi, by the way. Once figured out somewhere that he's our Zaidi also. Anyway, the door opens to the OL, and this woman sticks her head in. And she's like, "Can I come in?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course. Come on in. No problem." There's no mechitza there. There's no separate men-women section. It's basic farce. You just come, you go to the kever. So she comes in, and she's, there's a lot of tzaddikim there, but she's like, "Can I go over to Baal Shem Tov's kever?" She asked me. I said, "Sure, no problem. Of course." So she goes over there, and then this bar park guy, whatever, I shouldn't say bar park, but whatever, this American chassid starts bugging out. He's like, these women, and then he starts bugging out. He's like getting all tzahitzt, getting all uptight. So she got all nervous, and she didn't know what to do. So I waved her. I said, come sit over here. There was a chair next to me. I said, "Come sit." She was an older woman, middle-aged woman. I said, "Come sit." I said, "What's going on?" And she says, "Well, my daughter is in Israel, and she's giving birth now, and she's having trouble, and she's having a difficult labor, and I want to daven, but this guy is getting upset. He won't let me go over to the Baal Shem Tov's kever." So I said, "Don't worry." I said, "You're in the ohel. The Baal Shem Tov's soul fills up the whole ohel. So you're mamash by the Baal Shem Tov right now. It's all good." And I said, "Anyway, over here, right next to the Apterov is also big tzaddik, but you get all the tzaddikim. You're connected to all the tzaddikim here." So I said, "Come sit, and we'll say some Tehillim. Let's say Tehillim." So I gave her a Tehillim, and we sat there and said Tehillim together. And then I left. I didn't know what happened. I went out. And then I came back. Like a little while later, I was walking back towards, maybe I went to the mikvah. I don't know what I did. I was walking back towards the Achnasas Orchim building, and she's sitting outside on a bench, and she says, "It worked. You're amazing." And she's like, I'm like, "What happened?" She says, "My daughter gave birth and the baby's okay." And she starts pulling out money and stuffing it in my bag, like grivnas and dollars and shekels. And I'm like, "I didn't do anything. We just sat together and davened." She's like, "No, you're amazing." And she's pulling out, and I had no money to get back to the airport. So she's stuffing my bag with money, and I'm like, "Stop." And she's like, No. That's the story. That was awesome.
Wow.
And I was like, "I really didn't do anything. I promise you." But that's the thing. We all, all we got to do is be nice to those around us, be a mensch, be a little bit at lichtig, and then Hashem just operates how he wants to operate. Yeah.
It's true. I think that in that situation, but you mamish did everything. It's like the story that Abe was saying, what does it mean to be a Rebbe? What does it mean to be a tzaddik? On the most basic level, it means that you're up for connecting people to Hashem, and you connect Hashem to the moment, and tzaddik be'emunasa yichya in that state. And like when you're by the tzaddikim, when you became the channel for her to be able to connect to all the tzaddikim in that place. You became the channel for her to be able to connect to the Tehillim